1 year ago, I turned the main end island into a mega city. This was the last episode of my old survival series, and I don't have that build anymore in my hardcore world. So I want to build it again, but this time bigger, better, and with 10 times the features. Okay, and for the size of this project, we're gonna have to break it up into, I think, 7 chapters. For chapter 1, first we need to do some light terraforming to the island. We're gonna make the central island into a circle, and then have a floating ring around the top that connects all of the gateways, and then a series of smaller floating islands that will house a couple buildings as well as the 3 tree factories that I want to build. Because the tree farm in this piece of crap is just not cutting it anymore. So anyway, let's just quickly cut the outside of the island away here. Okay, that looks good. Now I need to build a band that wraps around the island here, and that'll make everything look more held together, I guess. So let me grab some gray concrete, and we'll start by building just a gray band around first. Alright, these walls are done. Now let's fill out these outer areas with endstone so everything's flat. Okay, now I'll build like a placeholder ring that connects all the end gateways around the island, and later we'll build what we actually are gonna build up here. Okay, this is a pretty good size. Now, I don't want these outside walls to be this dull, so I think I'm gonna add a little bit of detail to the sides of them, and then underneath, I wanna cut away this bottom part and have it be flat, even though I'm never really gonna see underneath. So I'll grab some materials to build the outside, and I think I kinda wanna go with an alternating triangle shape that goes around here. So let me build the first one so you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, this looks good. I'll add some gray concrete on the outside here. Okay, and now because I'm crazy, I'm gonna take the time to cut away the bottom here so it's completely flat and then cover it up. Okay, that literally took 2 days of work, but it's all flat here, so we'll just cover it up with a cool design that kind of makes it look like it's lifting up the whole island. Okay, that's all done. Now, lastly, I just need to build the islands that we're gonna build our super powerful tree farms on, and this will also make the entire end island seem a little bit bigger. And we'll start out by making kind of an upside down pyramid shape on the bottom. Okay, and then we'll fill in the top part here with endstone so it looks a lot like the normal island. Okay, that's the first outer island done. Now we just need to make a few more kind of wrapping around the island on this side and this side. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and then we got 3 more over here. Okay, that looks really good. Now, the very last bit of terraforming I want to do before we start building the actual city is make all these end pillars look identical. First, I need to remove all of these little bedrock blocks at the top of the towers with the TNT trick. And now we just need to make all the towers match. And that's pretty much all of our terraforming done. Looks pretty good. Okay, now that we have the canvas for our city basically set, this is where the video gets really fun. Now I'll go ahead and plan out every building location so that we don't run out of space. First, we're gonna build 2 large bee farms here and here, 1 for honey and 1 for honeycombs. Then these 2 locations are gonna have 2 identical skyscrapers with bamboo farms at the bottom. So along with the rest of the wood from our wood factories, we can also get bamboo wood. And then in the rest of these areas here will just be different skyscrapers to fill out the city, apartment buildings, office buildings, things like that. Okay, now that we have our general layout, we can start making the different roads and pathways that are gonna cut throughout the city. So first, I'll mine out a single layer so that we have a place to put the roads. And we can use concrete powder to make a roadway here. And we'll use stairs here, and we'll put cauldrons with iron trapdoors on top as like manhole covers. We just fill this out for the entire city. I'll also go ahead and fill in these kind of empty areas with like grass bits and dog parks and stuff to add like extra details. And then finally we'll make some lampposts so I can get all of these endermen to stop spawning. Alright, and that's the general layout of how our city is gonna look done. Okay, next we can actually start building our honey farms. So first, let's build the buildings that the farms are actually gonna be in. And the materials I'm gonna need for those buildings are 7,600 black concrete, which luckily I have plenty of thanks to the concrete factory, 2,900 iron blocks, which I luckily also have a farm for, 2,400 polished blackstone, which I had plenty in storage from our piglin bartering farm, 1,600 smoothstone blocks that I had to manually smelt up, about 900 sea lanterns, and then finally about 800 yellow concrete. Okay, now we can start building the actual building. And this building is basically just a big black tube with some cool details on it, so it shouldn't be too difficult to build. Let's do the black concrete first. Okay, and then we'll add some details on the outside here. Okay, with that, that's one tower complete. Very futuristic-y. Okay, and tower 2 is basically just a copy paste of tower 1, so boom, 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 and boom. Okay, that's the towers for the bee farms all done. Now, the bee farms themselves are actually pretty small and simple. They fit right in this room. So what we're gonna do is just make a bunch of them that go all the way to the top of the tower, and then we'll run a tube down to a storage room that we'll build at the bottom of the skyscraper. So let's get all of the materials for the bee farms first, which is just gonna be a bunch of smooth stone, redstone dust, glass blocks, comparators, hoppers, and chests. Okay, and to get all of the bees and beehives I'm gonna need, first I'll build one of the small farms here with the bees I already have. And let's go ahead and fill these dispensers with shears. And now we can use this one farm to get all of the honeycombs we're gonna need to make the beehives for all of the rest of the farms. And we only need 600 honeycombs. So I'll just sit here and I guess go touch some grass while I wait for this farm to fill up my chest. Okay, that should definitely be enough. Now we can just craft them all into hives. Okay, now that we have our hives, what we can do is basically just build up an entire farm like this, load it with empty hives, put one hive that has bees in it, and then breed the bees over and over again until every hive is full, which is going to take forever, but it's really the only option. So let's go build up the second farm here. Okay, I'll actually go ahead and just build every single farm before I load the bees in. It's gonna be faster. Okay, that's all the farms built. Now, before we fill them with bees, we need to put something in them first. This farm is gonna be making honeycombs, and this one is going to be making honey bottles. So I need a bunch of shears to put in the dispensers of this one, and a bunch of bottles to put in the dispensers of that one. And luckily, thanks to my raid farm, we already have like an unlimited supply of bottles just stocked up here. Okay, and we'll go up here and put a little hopper line that goes down and just fill everything up with glass bottles. Okay, I think that's good. That should definitely be enough to get as much honey as we want. Get it? Bee? Because it's bees. Okay, anyway, to activate the honeycomb farm, we basically have to do the same thing over here, but with shears. Okay, and for the honeycomb side, we'll just put down a crafting table, make a bunch of shears, and just load them all in. Okay, that's both of the farms prepped. Now all we have to do is put the bees in each farm for it to start, but I just realized I should probably build a storage room for the items. So I think we can come down here and go a little bit underground here. So let's dig out an area first. Okay, and we'll add some details to make this room look nice. We'll put a bunch of chests against these walls. And we'll put the hoppers in the back. And then finally, we'll just use some hoppers to make a line down to the storage room. Okay, and finally, we'll punch a hole here so this doesn't feel super claustrophobic. There we go. And now we just have to build an identical room on the opposite end. Alright, that's both the storage rooms done. Alright, now all that's left to do is to just breed up as many bees as we can. This is gonna take forever. And after a full day spent breeding bees in Minecraft, our honey and honeycomb factories were complete. Okay, the bee factories look really good. Now, staying on the topic of factories, we can actually build our tree farms next. And these are definitely gonna be a little bit more complex than the bee farms. So the first farm I wanna build is going to be our cherry tree farm. And the materials we're gonna need for this are 700 white stained glass, only like 90 observers, one single stack of redstone dust, a stack of sticky and normal pistons, and then a bunch of random redstone items. Okay, that's all the materials for the cherry farm itself, but we also need materials for a separate blast chamber that we have to build. So let's start grabbing the materials for that. It's literally just a bunch of basic redstone components y'all have seen a million times. Okay, now we can actually get to building. Now it's gonna look a little bit awkward at first, but I have a good idea of what I want to put around it. So let's get started. Okay, and I need to be super careful not to mess anything up for this redstone bit, because I am not the best with redstone, and when things don't work, it's super hard to fix usually. And there we go, our cherry tree farm should be done. Now, to get it to work, I just need to load a bunch of bone meal on the top here, get a few cherry saplings, and then we hit this note block to start the farm, and just hold down right-click here. And then the wood gets fed into the blast chamber, and boom, we have a fully functioning farm. I actually got the farm to work first try. Thank God. Okay, now we just need to put a building over this thing because this looks super ugly, obviously. And for the building design, I want to go for an industrial plus Japanese architecture style. So we get all of the materials for that. Okay, now we can start building it up. Starting with the industrial bit at the bottom, I have a mix of different stone blocks to give it like a little bit of texture. And we'll build this wall bit wrapping all the way around. Okay, and now we can build the Japanese style that's gonna be on top, which is gonna look a lot similar to the pagoda that I built in the 2B2T video. Pretty cool video, by the way. Go check it out if you haven't already. Anyway, let's do the outside walls first. Build them up like this. Now we got that classic curved pagoda roof. Okay, now we just repeat this process for the top. And finally, we'll do some custom cherry trees on top and down here. And that's our first farm officially done. Now we have access to infinite cherry wood. Okay, and the next tree farm on our list is the universal tree farm, which isn't quite universal. It only farms acacia, jungle spruce, oak, and birchwood, which is a lot, don't get me wrong, but not quite universal. And as you can imagine, with more things to farm, that means it's bigger and definitely more complicated. But it still requires a lot of the basic redstone materials we've been getting. So let's once again collect everything that we're gonna need. Okay, that took a while to get everything. But now, just like with the cherry farm, I have to place everything super carefully and meticulously so I can make sure this thing works first try. Because the difficult part isn't really building it, but figuring out what's wrong when it doesn't work. Okay, all done. And I'm 85% sure that it's 100% built correctly. But before I test the farm, let's actually just go ahead and build up the case around it, and also the storage for all of the wood, which will be right over here. And just like with the cherry tree farm, I'll do that same industrial look on the bottom, and then on the top, I'm gonna do a woodland mansion theme with all of the different trees that this farm produces. So we need to get a ton of dark oak wood for this. Okay, got all our stuff, and then obviously we'll just start with the bottom again. All right, that's the industrial part. And then we'll build the woodland mansion piece here with all the woodland mansion themed windows. And finally, we'll build a bunch of different trees to represent all the different wood types for this farm. Okay, the farm's done. Now we just need to build a storage room. So let's grab some chests, and we'll build a little storage container right next to the farm. Okay, that's the farm completely done. Now we just need to test it. Okay, moment of truth, and it works. I think we're good. Okay, and now last but not least, we have the dark oak wood farm, which y'all know the drill by now. So we'll grab some materials to build the farm itself. Okay, now we just build the thing up. This farm is definitely not as difficult as the last one. Okay, finally, the last tree farm is done. Now we just need to build the building that's gonna surround it, just like the other two. And for this one, the building will look a little bit more like a normal city building with the industrial bit at the bottom and a built-in storage room this time, unlike the last one. Okay, that's all the materials. Let's get building. And I'll even put a mini dark oak forest on top. And finally, we have the storage room in here at the bottom. All right, and that's all 3 tree farms done. The island's really starting to look good now. With the tree farms now done, I did a little bit of polishing on the outer islands, including adding some bridges to the main island and some details to make the islands that the tree farms are on look a little bit nicer. Okay, now we can begin chapter 5 of the project, which is to construct the amenities of the city. Because, you know, every city isn't just simply work buildings and apartments and stuff like that. There's also a lot of fun stuff to do. So that's what we're gonna build next, the fun stuff. And first, we'll start with a pool. It'll be an indoor and underground pool that looks out here over towards the space station this way. So let's set up some beacons so we can mine here a bit faster, and let's start digging where our pool is gonna be. Okay, I think this should be enough room for the pool. Okay, and we'll make some arches to make some vaulted ceilings. And then we can fill in between these arches with some wood. And of course, we'll add some lighting. Okay, this looks good. Now let's dig out this wall here so we can have a nice view of the space station across the gap here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, before we build the actual pool itself, let's make sure we cover up all of the walls and the entrance of the tunnel too. And then finally, we'll dig out the pool itself. This is a good size and looks pretty good. Now we just need some agua to fill it up. All right, that's the pool room done. Now I can come down here whenever I just want to chill or relax for a little bit, which yeah, let's be honest, I'm never gonna do that. But regardless, the room looks really nice. Okay, next, sticking with the water theme, we have the aquarium, which is gonna exist in the foundations of these 3 buildings here and then connect to each other. So first, let's build some frames for the tanks. Okay, this is the aquarium tank that we're gonna use. Now we need to just get some coral and sand and water stuff so that we can have decor inside the tank. Luckily, we have a tropical ocean right next to my base, so we can get everything that we're gonna need for the tank really easily. All right, this should be more than enough items to make the tank look like a proper ocean. But before we put these in, I need to fill it with water because otherwise the coral will die. Okay, got all the water in. Now we can build up the actual decorations. Yeah, this looks really good. Now, the last part for the aquarium, the actual animals themselves. And originally, I was gonna get like a bunch of tropical fish when I was in the warm ocean, but I remembered back in my rarest mobs video, I actually went ahead and saved up a full shulker box of blue axolotls. Because if you didn't know, they're super rare, but once you get one, you can breed them infinitely. So these are gonna be the only inhabitants to the aquarium, because if I put any other fish in there, I'm pretty sure axolotls have a tendency to just murder everything else in the water, so. And there we go. You guys have a new home for eternity. So, yeah, have fun. And that is our aquarium done. Okay, next after the aquarium, we have the gym. So we can get super buff and strong without actually going to the gym in real life. The entrance to the gym is going to be right across the street, and the rest of it will be underground, just like the pool over there. So let's go get some materials for the entrance. Okay, now building it up shouldn't be too complicated. The building's pretty simple. And there we go, very basic. Now we'll go ahead and set up another beacon so we can dig a little bit faster. All right, let's get digging. And for this gym, I'm actually gonna have 3 pretty large rooms. One of them is gonna be a basketball court, one is gonna be a weight room, and one is going to be a track and field area. Okay, I think these rooms are a good size. Now we just need to replace all of the walls like this, and we'll do the same in here. All right, looks good. Now we need to do the floor of both rooms. So this is gonna be like a basketball court. So let me quickly remove this bottom layer of end stone. Okay, we'll try to make this as accurate as possible. Okay, that looks good. Okay, and for the actual basketball hoops themselves, we'll use a wall as the standing pole, put a little support on the back, and then put a target block at the tip here, use some glass as a backboard, and then put a note block behind it with a gold block underneath. And this way, we can use snowballs as makeshift basketballs, and when we hit the target, plays a little noise. And then for the actual basket itself, we'll use a cauldron. And then we can just cover this up with some trap doors to make it look a little bit nicer. And we do the same on the other side. I just realized the floor is slightly uneven and it's not centered properly. Sorry to any OCD people watching. I know you're probably punching the monitor right now. My bad. And that should be the basketball court pretty much done. Next, we have the track and field room, which again, I need to remove the floor. Okay, now I just need to get some terracotta, a little bit of quartz stairs, and some grass blocks. Okay, now we can just build up the track and field. And there we go, that's the track and field room done. So we got our basketball court, our track and field room. Now all that's left to do is the weight room itself. So let's dig out this floor, replace it with quartz. Okay, this looks pretty good. Over here, we'll have like a dumbbell rack, which is just stairs. Here, we'll have a barbell on the floor. Those are the weights, and that's the barbell. Using some walls, I think we can actually make a pull-up bar. And then right here, kind of like the deadlift bar over there, we can have a bench press. And there we go, that's our little weight room. And with that wrapped up, our gym is done. Plenty to do here. Okay, next up we have the hangar. Because since this city is basically just floating in space, I think it's only fitting we have a hangar with a ship to explore with. And just like with the other amenities so far, this thing is gonna be underground, so we're gonna need to dig out a massive area here. And I also went ahead and built up the hangar roof since it was gonna be a little bit easier while I was digging. Okay, I think this is a pretty good size. And for the floor, what I'm gonna do is, if you remember that aircraft carrier video I made, we'll kind of do a similar design as to the tarmac of the aircraft carrier itself, using concrete and some anvils to make like dividing lines in the floor. And we'll add some buttons as like a final detail. Okay, and lastly for the hangar itself, we need to detail the stairs and entrance. So for the stairs, we'll make it look like this. Looks very similar to the gym entrance. And then for the walls in the actual hangar, I want to go with a little bit more of a darker theme like this. And last, I want to build like a space jet right here. So we need some black concrete, a little bit of tinted glass, and I kind of want to make it look like one of those stealth bomber jets. So we'll quickly build it right here. Okay, we're almost done. Next, we have a little bit more of a simple amenity. It's just gonna be a mini dining hall that we can always keep stocked with some food. And to have easy access, I think we'll connect it to the hangar right over here. So let's dig out another room. Okay, this should be a pretty good sized room. Now we can just replace the walls and ceiling. Okay, looking good. And we'll put the storage for the food in this wall. Put in a bunch of barrels. And lastly, we can put some tables in for people to sit at. And there we go, that's the dining hall done. Now, last but not least, in order to actually stock the dining hall with food, we're gonna be building a legendary carrot ring surrounding the entire city. And that's what this ring is here for. And as you can tell, since it surrounds the entire city, we're gonna need a lot of gray concrete. We're also gonna need some glass panes, some sea lanterns, a bunch of grass blocks, and of course, carrots. Okay, now before we build it, I actually want to remove these bedrock bits on the top of the portals so that I could just walk into them without having to like throw an ender pearl or go prone using my elytra or anything like that. So let's quickly build the bedrock breaking contraption. And then we just break the bedrock like this. Okay, and now we just do this basically for every portal on the ring, which, yeah, as you can imagine, took forever, but the end result was absolutely worth it. Okay, now we can actually start building the farm itself, which to start out is just going to be a second ring a little bit lower than this one above it. Okay, this is a good start. Now we'll fill it with dirt so that we can actually plant up all the carrots. Okay, now that we have all the dirt done, we can actually start planting the carrots themselves. Now we can use waterlogged stairs with a sea lantern light on top as our water and light sources for the plants. We'll make sure we evenly spread these out across the entire ring. And then we just need to plant carrots across the entire ring. Alright, and that's all the carrots planted. Next, I'll go ahead and build the roof of this part here, as well as some glass walls here. And if you're wondering why I'm using carrots over a different plant, it's because I have a massive gold farm that I can use to turn all of these carrots into golden carrots, which is the best food in the game. No debate on that. Alright, but anyways, that's pretty much the carrot ring completely done. Let's just add in some stairs so I have actual access to the ring itself. Okay, that's good. Now we can decorate the top of the ring, which I want to be like a park or nature reserve. So we're gonna split it up into 8 sections of 8 different forests. So let's load up all of the different saplings that we're gonna need for the different forests so that we can just bone meal them all at once. Okay, we have our saplings. Now we can just plant them all and bone meal them up. First, we'll do the acacia forest. Okay, then we can do the same thing with the jungle. Then we can just do a normal oak forest too. Over here, I want to have like a snow-covered spruce forest. So we'll plant all of these spruce trees first. Looking good so far. Next, let's do the dark forest one here. A birch forest. A mangrove swamp biome. And lastly, we will put a cherry blossom forest. And with that cherry blossom forest, that officially completes chapter 5. That was a lot of building. But that was really nothing because now we're gonna build the actual city itself. There's gonna be 20 skyscrapers in total. And I first want to start with the tallest of the two, which are gonna be in these 2 spots here and here. And as you can imagine, this is gonna be a lot of materials. Luckily, like everything at this point, I pretty much have enough farms to get everything very quickly and load them into shulker boxes. Okay, all our materials are here. And for these towers, I want to have like a little garden entrance lobby area at the bottom and then a bunch of apartments on the floors above it. So let's start with the garden here. Okay, this is a pretty good looking start. Now we can quickly go ahead and build the other one. And then we can just plant up the last of the bamboo. Okay, now let's just build the apartments. And for the first apartment, we're just gonna have it be kind of simple, kind of cozy, and more of an open layout. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. I wish my apartment was this nice. Okay, now we're just gonna repeat this all the way to the top. And with that, the first apartment tower is done. That took me almost 6 hours, but I think it looks pretty good. Anyways, I just have to do that entire same thing one more time over here. So we'll lock in real quick. We'll do this as fast as I can. And that's the tallest of the 2 skyscrapers done. Now next, we can just go ahead and finish the rest of the skyscrapers on the back half of the island here. And I had 2 extra skyscrapers planned here and right there, but I think I'm actually gonna scrap those in favor of making this green area a little bit bigger. I don't wanna overcrowd the city too much. So let's get rid of all of this. Okay, that looks good, but I still have 4 more buildings planned here, so let's get all of the materials we're gonna need for all 4 of them, which is way less materials than I needed for these first 2 towers. Okay, that's everything. Literally way less materials than before. But let's start with this apartment building here, which is gonna be another apartment building, but a little bit more cozy and smaller than this one, obviously. So let's build the base floor. Okay, this is our little entrance piece, and now we'll just build up the rest of it up top. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we just have 1 more of those towers right over here. Okay, and that brings us to 4 out of the 20 skyscrapers done. Now, the next 2 are kind of weirdly shaped with this diagonal line, so instead of making like an office building or another apartment building, you know what we need? I think we need more carrot farms. So with a little bit of grass, dirt, and carrots, we'll build up 2 more carrot farms that are vertical instead of laid out like the ring. Alright, that looks good. And that is the back half of the island all done. Now we can get started on the front half. And I think I'm gonna do the left side here first. So let me quickly take like 5 hours to get even more materials. Okay, it wasn't really 5 hours, maybe like 2 max. Okay, that's everything we're gonna need. I wonder how many items I've collected for this whole build so far. It's gotta be like 500k minimum for sure. Anyway, let's start building. We'll start with this apartment here first. And since this one is a little bit closer to the edge of the island, I'm gonna have some balconies on the outside so that you can kind of see into the interior entire city, which is gonna look super cool when we're completely done with the full city. Next, I'm gonna have a smaller building right here. It's just a square tall tower. Nothing too complicated about this one. Okay, this is looking good. Now for the building that's gonna be on top of the gym entrance here, I don't really want every single building to look all white like all the other ones we have right now. So I'm gonna do a different color scheme for this one. I'll go with like a gray concrete and acacia trapdoor kind of theme. Now I know it's not Christmas or anything, but I want to go ahead and put a Christmas tree inside of this room to kind of give it a cozy, kind of warm feel. Okay, and that's the gym building all done. Next, we have these 3 buildings here that are gonna sit on top of the aquarium, and we'll go back to the white theme for these. Alright, and that's the left side of the island done. Now, before we get to doing the right side, in each corner of the island, I have these small islands, and I was thinking I probably shouldn't leave them blank. I should probably put something on these. So I quickly grabbed some blocks. Okay, we have all the materials. Now we'll just build them up so you guys can see what they look like. Okay, now that we have those 4 corners done, the last thing for this chapter is just the right side of the island here. So only 8 more skyscrapers to go. And just like with last time, I will waste no time getting all the materials and setting them up so I can build all at once. Okay, that's all the remaining materials for the rest of the buildings. So we'll start here first. And guess what? We got one more carrot farm I want to do. I guess I just really like the way crops look in this game. So I think one more tower wouldn't hurt. So we'll quickly build up this spire. Okay, I think that looks good. Next, in this tiny little spot here, I realized it wasn't really big enough to have a normal skyscraper. So this is just gonna be basically an empty tube. And it's pretty much just hollow on the inside. Anyway, now that leaves us with 6 buildings left. So next we have, I believe this is just an apartment building. So we'll build this one up. And now we just need to grind out the rest. And remember, if you guys want to like explore the world or anything, you can get the world download on my Patreon. Absolutely no need to whatsoever if you don't want to. It's just an extra way to support me since the videos take such a long time. And you'll also get a unique shout out at the end of every single video. All right, we're finally done with the skyscrapers, and that wraps up chapter 6. Now on to the final chapter of the video, which is chapter 7. And all we need is just one more building, and I'm calling it the Citadel. Basically, it's just gonna be a massive tower that's gonna be in the center of the island here, and it'll sit right in the back here where this little outline is on top of the beacon factory. Okay, now the first thing we need to do to build this is remove these 3 obsidian towers since they're actually in the way a little bit. So let me super quickly, big quotes on that, grind this out. Okay, and now we can start the actual Citadel itself. Now, this thing is kind of a monster, made up of approximately 88,000 blocks. So even with all my farms, it's gonna take some time to get all these materials. First on our grocery list is gonna be 12 shulker boxes of white concrete, which actually won't be that bad since I have so much saved up in my bulk storage. So let's load it up. Next, we need 6 shulker boxes of birch planks, which is easily provided to us via our new tree farm. Then next, we have a slew of different blocks, all used for various bits of detailing that you guys will see in the build. Oh, finally, we have everything. Now let's finally get to work actually starting the tower. Now this tower kind of has 2 parts, a large bottom lobby segment here, and then it kind of steps its way up to a spire in the center. So we'll start with the bottom section first, and I'm gonna need to remove a massive amount of endstone for the floor here, as well as a few details from the beacon factory itself. Okay, that's all the bits stripped off of the beacon factory that I think I'm gonna have to take off. We should be good to go to build the rest of the main lobby section now. So let's see how quickly we can build it up. And okay, that's the lobby done. And I was trying to go for like a luxury style interior, and I think this fits the bill. Looks really, really good. Okay, now as you can see for the rest of the building, we just have this spire that's directly in the center that goes up to sky limits. And so how I'm gonna do this is to save time. I'm gonna do the exterior first, kind of just like with the lobby, with white concrete, sea lanterns, and other detailing blocks. And then for the inside, we'll build up each floor of the apartment one by one. And then finally, we'll furnish them each like this. Okay, looks really nice. And now we just repeat this for every single floor going up, and we will finally be done. All right, that's all the apartments done and furnished. Now all that's left to do is a final touch at the top in the form of a giant sea lantern crystal. And with that, we have completed our super city. Real big thank you to all of my patrons, especially my legendary patients Lag007, Harry Your Son, Ugar, and Toxic Viper. Now hit subscribe so I can get a million.